Hey everybody, I just got back from my local Goodwill and I found lots of grab bags of yarn. Lots of them are unlabeled. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to show you guys the burn test in case you're unfamiliar. The burn test basically is, well, you can burn yarn and depending on how it responds to the flame, you can figure out what fiber it is. So things that are plastic usually melt. Things that are wool or alpaca, anything that's kind of a natural protein based will kind of turn to a powder. Cotton does something else entirely. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to show that since I'm going to have to do it anyway to figure out what half of this stuff is. But first I'm going to show you kind of how it works with some yarns that I know what they are. So for instance, this here is Red Heart Soft. And see how it kind of is just melting into a little point there. And that point, if you feel it, it feels plasticky. So that's what acrylic does. This is some Lily Sugar and Cream cotton. And so it'll keep burning for longer. Like it's really trying to keep going here. But I got a bowl of water here to put it out. It doesn't have much of a smell, but it does burn quickly. It did leave the afterglow on the tip. That's usually what you watch for, where it kind of just keeps burning. This document that I will put a link to that has a list of how everything responds says that it has the odor of burning paper, leaves, or wood. I would definitely say that it smelled a little bit like burning leaves or something. So that's cotton. This is a scrap of merino wool. And you'll see it's gonna... So it flickers a lot. And it'll put itself out. The cotton will keep burning. Same with things like hemp and linen, but the wool and the acrylic will kind of put itself out like that. And then this ash here, it's not plasticky. It breaks up and gets powdery like this. So that's kind of what I'm going to be watching for here when I go through this yarn. So the first grab bag, this was $3 for these 3 large skeins of purple. It's got, let me get them out of the bag. Okay. So if you look at it closer, it's kind of got this hazy look to it. So I would guess that it's either an acrylic that is blended with something like Angora or wool, something to give it this haze. I thought it could potentially be all a protein-based thing, but the fact that these skeins are so large, that's what I'm not sure about. So that's why I'm going to cut a section. See, here's another reason why I think there's natural fibers in here. There's a bit of hay, because you'll sometimes see that in like spun stuff. So I'm going to cut a section of this. And let's see what happens. Okay, it's flickering. The way it was flickering, and some of it's plasticky, but there is some residue coming off. So I think this is a blend. I think it's probably an 80% acrylic blended with something, and you can see that the main stem kind of has held its shape, and that's the part that makes me think that it's like 80% acrylic. Let me do this again. Although the fact that it didn't put itself out was really weird. So this one's actually a little puzzling. It smells. I definitely still think it's a blend. I'm just not entirely sure what all is blended with. No, okay. Apparently, the acrylic doesn't always put itself out. I guess. Anyway, I'll link to the document so you guys can look, because there's lots of different synthetics under here that most of them do melt and everything. But some of them burns faster than others. Some have different smells. So anyway, this is definitely a blend. I think it's something that's like probably something kind of like Lion Brand's Touch of Mohair, maybe. So that's what that grab bag seems to be. And I have a lot of this, and it's a nice color. I'm excited about that for $3. Okay, the next two, I'm quite confident that most of these are going to be some sort of wool, because I'll show you. All the other ones also have lots of different things in them. It's not just all the same in the bag. So in this bag, there is one label that's included. And I could kind of see this. And I'm pretty sure it's for this. This is a Swan Island Merino Wool Alpaca Blend. And I'm quite certain that's what this is, because the color is oatmeal. And this is definitely an oatmeal color. But then there's this squishy beauty here. And these two kettle dyed yarns. So I'm positive all of these are going to be merino. I'm not going to bother burning some of the one with the label, but we're going to burn all these other ones. So first up, the white squishy goodness. I would bet this is 100% merino. Yeah, it won't even keep burning. It puts itself out pretty quick. Or, well, it did. Nope, yeah, there. Now we lost it again. And then if I squish it between my fingers, it's all powdery. So we definitely have 100% merino, just like my other sample. I feel so bad burning yarn, but this is what you gotta do if you got unlabeled stuff. This is burning longer, but it did put itself out. And it is also very powdery. So, as expected, more merino or something like that. It's soft enough that I would bet it's merino. And a lot of the kettle dyed stuff is like, it's going to be merino or merino cashmere or merino alpaca something. Okay, last one from that bag. Okay, and see that irregular shape too? That's supposed to be an identifier. So the irregular shape that then turns to powder. That one has a really strong odor though. Stronger than the other two. So this one might be something different than wool, but it's still definitely a protein-based fiber. So I saw all these sort of earth tone colors and thought, there's not much of any one color, but I mean, for hats or for mixing in like color work or something, it could be pretty. Okay, last grab bag, and this has a bunch of like fingering, like lighter than fingering, like lace weight stuff, which I normally don't use, but a lot of the colors in here were really pretty, and I kind of just couldn't help myself. I mean, because this one was only $4. So in here we have, this has a label, very, very tiny. The label was stuck in there, so you couldn't actually read it. So I was guessing, but I could tell it was some sort of single ply, very fine. Let's see what the label says. Goodwill did not price this high enough. I got incredibly lucky. This is a skein of Madeline Tosh. This is a $25 ball of yarn. 100% superwash merino wool, lace weight. I have 840 yards. So already jackpots. You don't always find yarn that's good at Goodwill, but when you do. Okay, so this was the one that I knew had a label, and I could see it, And so I knew it was more expensive and worth, you know, paying $4 for all of it. This is an Angora Merino Tencel Cashmere mix from Lotus Yarns. It's a really pretty red color. So the only reason I'm going to do a little burn test on this guy is because since it does have such an unusual blend, I want to see what it does and see if maybe it has that strong smell that I just smelled on that last one. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so that one didn't put itself out. That's probably because of the Tencel. Because Tencel, bamboo, rayon, they're all kind of in the same family, and like cotton, it'll keep burning. So there's 26% of that. Everything else is protein fibers. So as I would guess, this just crumbles into a powder. So anyway, that's really interesting to see how that blend went. Okay. This is another very fine lace weight. There's no label here in this one. It's multicolored, but it's not quite the same like quality of a dye work or look as the Madeline Dash. I would guess this might be like it's too skinny to be like a painted sock yarn. Something about it. Well, and it's 2-ply too. Something about it makes me think knit picks, but I have no justification for that. But let's see what it does. Whoa! Okay, that did some weird stuff. Turns to a powder, so there's some natural protein fibers there. All the little part that went off. It burned really fast though, and I don't know if that's just because of how thin it is, or if there's something blended with it. So that one will always remain a little bit of a mystery. Okay, there's 2 more skeins in here, and I'm pretty sure they're the exact same thing. One's really tightly wound though, like they really tightly wound this. Like you can see it's stretching out the ply. So, in case you didn't know, you should never really wind yarn for a project until right before you're ready to use it, because it can stretch it out like that and change the weight of the yarn. It'll affect your gauge. But so I have 2 skeins of this. I would guess, and actually based off of the ply, it might be the same kind of stuff as what this is. And somebody started knitting it a little bit. Oh yeah, they have just a tiny, tiny little swatch here. Really pretty. If there's enough here, I would say this would make a really great lightweight sweater. I would guess between the 2 of these, there's maybe around 800 yards, maybe a little more. Anyway, so let's burn. And I won't do the end with the knot because it might go crazy like that last one. Okay, once again, burned really fast. But it's got that little build up there. And it immediately crumbles. So I guessed good this time. I got a bunch of presumably all expensive, like the Mad Tosh, natural fiber yarn for under $10. So I'm stoked. I've gotten lucky at Goodwill a couple times before, and these don't come along often, but when they do, I usually snag them. So anyway, I thought I'd share. I thought maybe you guys might find it interesting to see how you can identify mystery yarn. And if you ever want to guess for yourself, a lot of the things that I look for is, you know, in the color, things that look kettle dyed or hand painted, where there's some interesting variation in the color. The variation in this color isn't natural enough that if this was a thicker yarn and I saw this, I'd probably guess that it might be acrylic. Only because it was tiny did I figure that it might still be a natural fiber, because sock yarns often are. They don't make many acrylic sock yarns. So yeah, I look for these kind of colors, and once you start seeing merino, there's something about it that you can kind of just tell by looking at it. The spin on it just feels so smooth compared to, like, this is an acrylic, this is the Red Heart Soft. But that's not always the case, because like this one, you can still see more ply like you can with this. But it still just kind of has a different look to it. And honestly, if I had seen this in a solid color, I wouldn't have guessed that it was a natural fiber. So again, the color is a great way to kind of figure it out. You can kind of tell from the look of the ply on occasion. And I mean, just make sure you're happy with what you're buying in case you're wrong, because I've definitely been wrong once or twice before. So, but anyway, I hope you found this fun, and I hope you're having a great week. I'll talk to you next time.